Hello, my crafty friends. Well, today we are going to play around with a new bundle called All Squared Away. And I have 3 different card ideas that I want to share with you. Hi, it's Lynn Dunn from Stamptastic Designs. Thanks so much for joining me today. In this episode of Stamptastic TV, I have 3 different ways that you can use the All Squared Away bundle to create some absolutely adorable cards. So of course the cards in this video are going to feature the All Squared Away stamp set. And of course we are going to be using the coordinating die set called Floral Squares Dies. So I'm going to show you 3 different ways that you can use these dies in your card making. And of course I am featuring some of the fabulous new in colors for these cards as well. All right, so let's get started. Okay, so before we get started with the cards, I just want to give you an idea of what the little die cut shapes look like. So these are all the little square die pieces that you can create using the die from this particular bundle. And so I'm going to show you just a couple different ways to kind of decorate up these dies to create some adorable little cards. Okay, so this first card idea just features those little die cut shapes just adhered to a piece of designer paper. So as you can see, it shows through the little die cut and it just gives it a really fun look. So let me show you how to make this card. So you're going to start with a piece of white cardstock, which is cut to 5.5 by 8.5 inches, and it's scored in the middle at 4.25 inches to create the base of the card. And then I just used an embossing folder to add some texture to the front of my card. You can use any embossing folder that you want. The next thing I did is just cut a piece of designer paper, which is 2.25 inches wide and it's 5.5 inches long. And I'm just adhering it to a piece of cardstock. So this is fresh freesia. And the cardstock piece is 2.5 by 5.5, so it's just 1/4 inch larger, or I should say wider, than my designer paper. So you adhere those 2 pieces together and then just simply adhere it to your card front. Then the next thing I did is just cut out 2 of the dies. You can use any of the 4 dies. I just happened to choose these 2. And we're just going to lay these on our card front right over that designer paper in the position that we want them, and then just simply adhere them. So I'm just using a little bit of liquid glue. And then we can just go ahead and finish decorating it. So I am just going to add a little sentiment, a little greeting over here on this right side. And then the cool thing about this particular bundle is that besides having these fun little die cuts, there's these little florals that you can cut out and you can go ahead and add those to different parts of your card. As you can see here, I used a different die cut than the one I used here. So here I added a bunch of little floral images. But here I'm just going to stick with what I have. And then I'm going to add some of these little loose flowers. So these work really well with a little glue dot. So I'm just going to use a little glue dot to add the larger ones. And then I'm going to use a little bit of liquid glue just to add the smaller ones. So this is just a fun and simple way for you to use these square die cut shapes. So this particular card was created in landscape style, and of course you can use the same measurements to create this card in portrait style. So it's the exact same measurements for the designer paper, this middle section, and then just choose 2 of the dies and then go ahead and decorate it in the portrait style. So it's the exact same concept, we're just changing the orientation of the card. So pretty cool. Okay, so the second card idea, we're going to kind of stick with the designer series paper idea, except for this time we're just going to cut smaller squares of designer paper to go behind our little die cut shapes. So let me show you how to make this one. So again, we're going to start with a piece of white cardstock for the base of our card, and this time I embossed it with a different embossing folder. So you can use whatever embossing folders that you have on hand. So now that I have my card front prepped, I'm just going to move it aside for the moment. And I'm going to bring in some designer series papers. So this is the designer series paper from the In Color DSP pack. So this is the 2021 to 2023 In Colors. So soft succulent, polished pink, pale papaya, and fresh freesia. So what I'm going to do is take all these die cut shapes and I'm going to add the designer series paper behind them. So the best way to do this is just to add some glue to kind of these center parts here, and then just add a little bit of glue, liquid glue works great, to the outside. Then just take your designer paper and just lay it on top and just let it dry. And so we'll do that with all of these pieces. Now you can also sponge the glue on here if you don't want to just draw it on like I'm drawing it on. That works too, whatever is the easiest. So all of these little square pieces are cut at 1 3/4 by 1 3/4 inches. So they fit perfectly, you know, right on this little tiny edge here. So we'll add that. And then this last one, we'll add our little soft succulent. Okay, so we'll just add some dimensionals to all of the backs of these, and then we will pop them up on our card front. So I like to just lay them out first on my card so that I have an idea of where I want to place them. So I'm just leaving a little space in the center for my greeting. All right, so once I have them positioned, then I can just go ahead and take my backing off my dimensionals and just go ahead and adhere them. And then my greeting is just stamped on a 1/2 inch wide by 3 3/4 inch long piece of white cardstock. And I popped it up with a couple dimensionals. And then of course you can add some little embellishments. I use those little floral embellishments on the card just to decorate it. So it is a pretty simple card design. It just takes a little bit of time to adhere those designer series paper pieces behind the die cuts, but you can really use any designer series paper, so that's great. All right, let's move on to the last one. Okay, this last card design kind of features the same style as what I just shared, except the only difference is instead of putting patterned paper behind these die cut shapes, we're going to do some stamping behind there, and I have a couple tips for you on how to achieve that stamped look behind these little die cut images. All right, so let me show you how to do this. All right, so we're going to start out with a 5 1/4 by 4 inch piece of white cardstock. So what I'm going to do is take these dies and I'm just going to lay them out on my cardstock the way that I want them. And you want them side by side like this, so you want them touching. So I'm going to put 2 on the top, 2 on the bottom, and then basically I'm going to take this and run this through my embossing machine, and it'll cut out the little die shapes that I can use on the card, but I'm going to show you, it'll also give you a template like this. So this is actually what it looks like once you cut everything out. You remove these and you'll have the little die cut shapes for your card, and then you'll have this little template that you can use to do your stamping in, because you want to make sure that you stamp the image in the spot where you're going to be laying that die. And so it can get a little bit tricky, but this template should help you be able to manage that better. So I am using just a piece of white cardstock for the base of my card. So we're going to do the stamping directly on the front of our card here. So I'm just going to add a little bit of washi tape kind of on the side just to hold my template down. And we'll add a little bit here. So I'm just going to ink up one of the images. There's 4 different images, so we're going to use all 4. All right, so there's the first one. Now we will go ahead and use the pale papaya. So you're basically just stamping all of these images right in these little squares where you cut out those die cut shapes. So I have polished pink, pale papaya, this is fresh freesia, and the last one I have is the soft succulent. All right, so we can remove our little template here, and you can save this template too and just reuse it if you want to make more of the same style card. Okay, so now we'll just take our die cut shapes here and we will just adhere them right over the top of the stamped images. All right, so there you go. How cool was that? So now we're just going to decorate it. So I'm just going to add some little greetings here, and I just stamped them on 1/2-inch wide pieces of white cardstock. And I'm just going to add them on the card, just kind of separated like this. And then I have some little die cut pieces that I will also add. So I created these little flowers from one of the dies in the set. And then I have some little florals. So there's lots of little die cuts in here for you to use to decorate these larger dies, the square dies, or you can use them just to decorate your card like I am right now. So the cards are super adorable and I just love this bundle. It's just a lot of fun to play with. Okay, so there you go. Now you have 3 different ways that you can use the All Squared Away bundle in your card making. And if you enjoyed these card ideas, feel free to download the printable tutorial. You can find the link in the description below this video. Thanks so much for joining me today. If you enjoyed this video, please let me know by liking it and sharing it with your friends. And leave me a comment below to let me know what you enjoyed most about the video and the cards shared here today. Have a fun and creative day, my friends. Take care.